bread dough. So all we need for the recipe is 1 kilo of bread flour. We need some yeast, 7 grams of yeast, dried yeast, 600 millilitres of warm water, not cold, not boiling, just warm, a pinch of salt and a little bit of sugar. So the first thing we need to do is add our 7 grams of yeast to the warm water. And the warm water will help to activate the yeast. If you want to help that along a little bit better, what you can do is add a pinch of sugar as well, and that will help to wake up the yeast. Give it a really good mix, and then you're going to wait until you see the bubbles form, and then it's ready to use. So we'll just leave that to sit for a moment. Next, we need to get our flour, and we're going to put the whole kilo into the bowl, but we're just going to leave a tiny bit of it out, just in case we need some for when we're kneading the flour. So we're going to put all of that in there, leave a little bit out, and I'm going to put a pinch of salt in there as well, and then mix it around a bit. So the yeast has been sitting for a couple of minutes, and you can see there's bubbles starting to form. So that means the carbon dioxide in the yeast has started activating. So now it's ready to go into our flour mixture. So I'm going to pour my yeast into my flour and use a fork to start combining it all. I'm not going to use my hands straight away because you will get into a bit of a mess. So start combining with a fork first, and then once it all comes together, then you can start using your hand. So I've combined as much as I can now with a fork, so now I'm going to get in and use my hands. And you should be able to clean the bowl. So the bowl should be pretty clean. Once you've got it all in a big pile, you can then put it on to a work surface. So I'm going to put a bit of flour from the remainder of the flour I had and turn my mixture onto here. And now I can start kneading. Now, there's lots of different ways you can knead. There's some people would say there's a special way of doing it. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter. As long as you work the dough and move it around for around 10 minutes until you've got a really, really nice, soft, smooth dough. You can see at the moment it's quite bumpy. When it's been kneaded enough, it'll be lovely and smooth, and it will also be warm, and that will be the yeast inside activating. So I'm going to knead now for about 10 minutes, and then we'll have a look at it when I've done that. Okay, so I've been kneading the dough for about 10 minutes now, and you can tell, if you have a look, the texture's changed. It's really smooth and it's quite shiny. So now it's ready to go in a bowl and prove a little bit. So I'm just going to pop a tiny bit of olive oil on the bottom of my bowl to stop the dough from sticking when I take it out. And I'm just going to get my dough, put it into a nice ball, like so. Pop it in my bowl, and I'm going to cover it with some Glad wrap and leave it for about an hour and a half until it's doubled in size, and then we'll come back and do the next part. So my bread has been proving for about an hour, and as you can see, it's absolutely doubled in size. So now we're going to knock it back, which means we need to take the air out of it. So I'm just going to peel off this bit, and of course it's stuck to the top, but that's not a problem. Just peel it off, and then we're going to give it a bit of a bash like this, and then take it out of our bowl. You can smell the yeast that has been working. So now we're going to give it a bit of a knead again, and then we can start shaping it before we let it prove one more time. Okay, so this dough is enough to make 2 loaves, so I'm going to cut it in half and I'm going to make a rustic type of loaf, and then I'm going to have a go at making some bread rolls as well. So with my rustic loaf, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a baking tray, I'm going to pop a bit of flour on it, and then I'm going to shape my dough. So I'm actually going to make it a bit of a long shape, and this will double in size. I'm going to pop it on here, sprinkle a bit of flour on, and then I'm going to let that prove for about another 40 minutes or so. Now for the second one, I'm going to make some bread rolls. So I'm going to put some more flour on here, and then I'm going to make 12 rolls out of this. I've made 12 little balls, and now I'm just going to roll them and then pop them onto my tray, and I'm going to spread them out because when they prove again, they will of course expand.
How do you do?
So I'm just finishing off the last couple. I've actually made 13, so I'll pop that one on as well. But of course you don't have to make bread rolls. You could make pizza dough from it. You could make focaccia, lots of different sorts of loaves. You put a loaf in a tin. So I've got my 2 different ones there. I'm just going to get a damp tea towel, just wrung out, and I'm going to pop that over the top and leave it to prove again for about another 40 minutes or so. And it should again have doubled in size, and then we can pop it in the oven. So they've been sitting somewhere warm for about 40 minutes, so let's see what's happened. Yep, the bread's definitely doubled in size, and so too have the bread rolls. They've all squashed together. So I'm going to pop a bit more flour onto the bread here, onto my loaf, and then I'm going to pop this in the oven for about 40 minutes, maybe 35-40 minutes, on 180 fan assisted, so that'd be 200 ordinary oven, and the bread rolls will probably need about 20-25 minutes. So let's see what happens when I put them in the oven. Okay, so I've taken the bread rolls out after 25 minutes, they're done. Let's check if the bread's done. So the way you can tell is it should sound hollow when you tap it. So that's sounding pretty good. So a good way of doing it is if you pick it up, it's very, very hot, so you have to get someone to help you. Tap it. That's sounding good. So we'll let it cool down for a moment, and then we'll cut it and have a taste. Okay, so let's cut it up and see what it's like. That is looking pretty good. That with some butter on will be absolutely delicious. Have a go at home and see how you get on. See you next time. Bye.